Cheers, Marcus. Evening, everybody. Good to see Joey got the bright jumper message this evening. Thanks for that. Quick question for the person to discuss with you next year. What's your favourite saying? I'd like you to discuss that with the person next to you now, or think about it if you're sitting by yourself. What's the favourite saying or idiom or proverb that you like to live by? Go on, off you go. Favourite saying. Look after your broom is one from the front. That's a good little Only Fools reference. Might be something to continue to discuss. I've got a few for us. That you might like to try out from around the world. In Italy, you don't say good luck. You say into the mouth of a wolf, which is good, isn't it? Because the response isn't thank you. The response is may the wolf die, which I think is quite nice. In Portuguese, to treat someone better than they deserve is to feed the donkey sponge cake. But my personal favourite, which I'm going to adopt this week especially, is in Poland. If you can't be bothered with something, or someone brings you something that you're like, that's not my problem, the response is, not my circus, not my monkey. I'm going to use that a lot of work this week. Not my circus, not my monkey. I suppose we should probably look at biblical ones, though, which is a shame, because there's some good ones that my wife comes up with, like, he is a dark fox, or you ain't nothing but a groundhog, which she came up with the other week, which I like. But anyway, no, we should consider the biblical ones, because reading the book and the chapters over this last week I've been preparing, I'm sure you guys have been reading them over the last several months as well. You get a sense this is like, the way I like to read them, right, because I like to have a mental image. I like to have an image of like old King Solomon, like a Morgan Freeman kind of character. And he's so old, and he's on his deathbed, and someone comes up to him and is like, you've got all this wisdom. Can you distill it down and we can write it down for future generations, yeah? Do we know these people in our lives? Like the little old ladies that are just very wise. They're very wise. They're maybe not very smart, but they are very wise. And you almost want to get them down and be like, oh, just write down what you've got in your brain. And I feel we get that with the Proverbs as we read it. Like, this is King Solomon trying to distill all of it. And you feel like he's gone through this whole life in order to distill it down for us to read it. And this is what Solomon says about wisdom, which I think is beautiful. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. And it's like this guy has been on all through his life. He's been trying to get hold of wisdom so he can pass it on to the people. Be like, if you lay hold of wisdom, forget everything else. Lay hold of wisdom. And then it will be full of peace. It's good, isn't it? Some of us just need that. Just take a breath. It's like, just need a bit of peace from the Proverbs. Okay, so a month ago, I applied for a job and didn't get it, and I was feeling grumpy, so I told my wife we've got to move house then, because I didn't get a job, so we've got to move. So we had to move house. And so part of moving house is that you have to tidy, because people are taking photos of your house, and it's a big deal, so we had to tidy our house. So what I say mostly my wife. And so what she did was she took all of the stuff that we owned, and she put it in the garage. And our house was, and we looked around in the vast chasm of emptiness that was our house now. When they took the photos, and we looked at each other and we were like, we don't need to move. This is delightful. What do we need more space for? This is lovely. So I did something that I should do more often, but I don't do enough. No, it wasn't pray or anything holy like that. It was go to the dump. I went to the dump, filled my car up, took all the stuff, because I had all this stuff that was just getting in my way. It was stuff I didn't want and I didn't need, and it was just getting in the way, and I took it to the dump, and it was a cathartic, dare I say, spiritual experience. Nathan's smiling and nodding. He knows the feeling of a good dump run, doesn't he? It's lovely, isn't it? And I went there, and I just took all this stuff, I put it in the dump, and it was just... And as I've been reading Proverbs, there's this recurring theme that keeps coming back to me, and it might be resonating a little bit with you, and it's you need to simplify. You need to simplify. Because I'm making a guess here that a lot of us have got a load of stuff clogging up our lives that we don't want and we don't need, and they're just getting in the way. And I'm going to say to you, you need to get rid of it. You need to simplify. Now, for some of you, that's stuff. You can't open a room without there being too much stuff, and you need to simplify. Do you need to go on a dump run? For some people, it's unhealthy relationships. For some of you, it might be fears or anxieties that you don't want and you don't need, and they're getting in the way. And the message of Proverbs is to simplify. One of my favourite ones that I've been reading this, remove the dross from the silver, and a silversmith can produce a vessel. Remove the dross from the silver, and a silversmith can produce a vessel. You need to simplify. Make it simple. Because you are going to be bombarded with a whole load of stuff that you're like, oh, you need this, or you should do this, or here's some books you should read. And every time I speak to Marcus, I feel guilty because he's like, oh, have you read this book? And I'm like, no, I haven't read that book either, Marcus. I've got a lot of books I need to read. And all this stuff is like, it could be good stuff. I'm sure it is good stuff, but it's just, I just need to remove the dross so the silversmith can produce a vessel. I need to simplify my life. I mean, it's why the Beatles only played 4 chords. I want to make it simple. And some of us feel like every time we talk, it's just chaotic. And some people, when in the olden days, when Facebook used to have a relationship status, it was always, it's complicated. And there's a feeling like everything is just a little bit messed up and chaotic. And what I'm going to tell you is this, is that stuff doesn't simplify itself. If you leave it, it doesn't clean itself up. Another thing my wife says to me a lot. If you leave, it won't simplify itself. If you've got headphones, you know this. I'm not talking about the fancy new ones that you put in your ears. No, I'm talking about the wired ones, you know, the proper old school ones, yeah? Because you would have a headphone and it would be nicely and very easy to use and it would be nicely folded up and you put it in your pocket and you'd immediately pull it out and you wouldn't have usable headphones anymore. No, you would have a knot that is impossible to untangle, this chaotic knot of headphones because entropy increases is what physics teaches us. And I'm going to tell you this, that your life will not simplify itself. You have to do it. The dross, get rid of it. You'll need to simplify itself because if you don't, it all gets very complicated very quickly. And I was thinking about this week of what do I need to simplify? Where am I? And I've been reading the Proverbs and there's a message that comes again time and time again. The first thing you want to simplify is your speech. Whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. It's like for Solomon, he understands that if we want to keep everything simple, then we need to speak simply. That there is a deep connection with the way you talk about yourself and the way you talk about others and what's going on inside your heart, yeah? There's a deep connection with the words that you use and the relationships that you have. There's a deep connection between what you say and how other people are going to treat you. Proverbs 17:28, one of my favourites. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. In other words, even if you're an idiot, if you keep quiet, people might think you're smart. And I think I need to hear that sometimes. Because I have a connection between how I feel and how I speak. When I get nervous, I speak extremely quickly. When I get anxious, I just kind of blurt stuff out. I once had my driving test, and I didn't let the person get a word in edgeways, which was awkward because I was meant to turn left, but I wasn't listening because I was just talking at him the whole time. But there's a connection with the way I speak and the way I feel, and there's a connection between the way you talk about yourself and the way that your life is going to go. Can you simplify your speech? I'll give you an example. An apology takes fewer words than an excuse. Simplify your speech and see what it does to your relationships. If you tell a half-truth, you tend to have to tell a lie to cover it up. And once you've told that one, you've got to tell 3 more in order to avoid getting found out. But the truth is succinct. I know this because I'm a teacher and I spend a lot of my time spotting kids who aren't telling the truth. And it's very easy because they don't have to say much. And the ones who don't get into trouble, let me tell you this, they're the ones who bring me apologies, not excuses. And that's true for all relationships, isn't it? An apology takes far fewer words than an excuse, and it will simplify your relationships. Speak simply. Jesus said something very similar, didn't he? He said, don't be like the hypocrites who pray using all these long words. No, when you pray, go into your room and close the door and pray to Father. He sees what you do and he will reward you. Later on he says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. I had a mate who I used to joke, if he said yes, he meant maybe. And when he said maybe, he meant no. And it was just annoying. Because you'd like say, oh, you coming to this? Yeah, I'll be there. I mean, no, sorry, I forgot about it. You're going to be, oh, maybe I'll come. You just mean no. Just say no. Just say. And the trouble was, at first it was funny, and after a while it was annoying, and before long you just stopped getting invited to anything. Because it wasn't someone who you could trust what they said. Let your yes be yes, and let your no be no. I want to be someone who, when I say I'm going to do something, people trust I'm going to do it. I want to be someone who is known for being honest. So if I say I've done something, then it means I've done it. Can we simplify our speech? And I think as we do that, we find it simplifies a lot of other things in our lives. Let your yes be yes, and let your no be no. I was reading through Proverbs. I mean, there's loads of this stuff. Proverbs 10:19, when words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent. The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours forth evil things. Again and again, this same message. Speak simply. Can you get rid of the dross from your speech so the silversmith can produce something beautiful with your words? Can you let your yes be yes and your no be no? Simplify your speech. And I feel that for most of us, the two big things in our life are our relationships and our bank balance. And most of our efforts throughout the week, I would hazard, and I might be wrong here, are spent either serving one of those two things, either the relationships or our bank balance. Let me tell you, if you simplify your speech, you're going to simplify your relationships. And if you simplify your spending, you're going to simplify your bank balance. I was doing a talk on King Saul a few months ago, which is pertinent, I suppose, because like Solomon was was in that dynasty of kings, wasn't he? So he would have heard stories about Saul. Anyway, the Israelites wanted a king, and Samuel said to him, you definitely don't want a king. And the Israelites said, yes, we do. Look, the Assyrians have got a king. And at this point, I really feel I wanted Samuel to say, well, if the Assyrians jump off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff too? And maybe he did, but he didn't make it into the scripture. But he said something similar, which is like, look, guys, if you get a king, the king's going to want taxes. King's going to want your best fighters. King's going to want the best of you. It's going to be awful. You're going to basically be slaves to this king. Are you sure you want one? And the Israelites said, yeah, we want one. And they get a king. And then you can guess what happens. That before long, they're essentially slaves to this king. And the king starts making demands of them, and they have to pay tax now, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And I was reading that passage. And the phrase that kept coming into my head was this. Who are you elevating in your life that is going to make demands of you which you cannot keep? I'll say that again. Who have you elevated in your life who's making demands of you that you cannot keep? For the Israelites, they elevated this king, and before long, the king is making demands of them that they cannot keep. But I was thinking about, yeah, I do that sometimes. That new TV and the payment plan all made so much sense in the shop, but now it's kind of making demands on me that I can't keep. Or that rather toxic relationship that all my mates said I shouldn't have got into, and before long it's making demands of me that I can't keep. Or that thing that it was such a good idea to say yes to Tuesday nights, but that was meant to be date night, and now it's making a demand of me that I can't keep. Or maybe I started doing a little bit of gambling on my phone, then it was once a week, and then it was every day, and now this thing has been elevated and it's making demands of me that I cannot keep. And the message of the Proverbs is this: don't do that. Live within your means. Live within your means. If your current level of provision is here, then live here. If your current level of provision is here, then live here. For Proverbs, if you want to simplify your life, you can start by simplifying your bank balance. There's so much about money in the Proverbs. One of the things that I love, there's like three main themes, I guess. One of them's like, guys, just go and earn some money, which I quite like. I find that quite refreshing from the Bible. Like one of the great Proverbs, says this, like, go to the ant, you sluggard. People like that, don't they? That's a good one. Go and earn something. Go and earn some money. I don't know why that sometimes as Christians we don't like this idea, but work existed before the fall, didn't it? Like before the fall, people worked, because work's a good thing. If you don't believe me, ask someone who's been unemployed for a lot of months. Work is a good thing. Work is good for the soul. And the Proverbs say, go and earn it. Go and look what the ant does. Look at the shift that they put in. If you can't do anything else, then lift the rock and move it over there and go and earn it. Earn your money. Go to the ant, you sluggard. It's good to earn money. It's good for the soul. Some of us need to hear that. Some of us need to hear the other theme, which is learn to save. Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. It's good to earn. It's good to save. So that when we get things like this tonight and a gift day, we look at it and we think, yeah, I can help out with that. When we walk down the street and someone says, you want a big issue, you think, yeah, actually I can. Because I've earned some money and I've saved enough, and now my level of provision was here and I live like here, and so now I've got that much I can give away. That's good. Some of us need to hear that we can earn money. Some of us need to hear that we should save money. Some of us need to hear that we should give money. Do not exploit the poor because they are poor. Do not crush the needy in court, for the Lord will take up their cause and exact life for life. Or elsewhere, which is brilliant, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Generous person. That's a good proverb to hear, isn't it? Because I don't know about you, but online banking is a bit of a nightmare for me because I'm a little bit competitive. And by a little bit, I mean I'm the most competitive person in this room, and I will fight anyone who dares to suggest otherwise. It was a joke, by the way. I'm clearly not designed for fighting, am I? Anyway, I'm a competitive person, and online banking has shown me every month it has two little bars. And I don't know if you have this on your online banking, but there's a bar of how much has gone in, there's a bar of how much that goes out. Have we seen these bars? Yeah, some of us have seen these bars. But I'm a competitive person, so I want the one that's going in to beat the one that's going out. And I want to be competitive. So every month I'm checking it. I'm like, oh, is that bar one? Is that bar one? Now, to be honest, as I've said, it's good to earn money. It's good to save money. But there's also a point where that becomes all-consuming. And I need to learn to give money. Because I need to learn that a generous person will prosper, and whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. There's a challenge to simplify our speech. There's a challenge to simplify our spending. Wesley summed it up. Earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. Spend simply. Start with your speech. Yeah, your yes be yes, and let your no be no. Look at your spending habits. What I'd say is this, maybe, don't overstretch your budget and don't overstretch the truth. Instead, stretch yourself to grow. Grow in wisdom, grow in love, grow in compassion, grow in turning the other cheek. Grow in generosity, grow in passion, grow in peace, grow in joy, grow in grace. Don't stretch yourself financially to keep up with the Joneses, but instead stretch yourself to be more selfless. Push yourself, not in order to keep up with the neighbours. Don't push yourself in order to make other people feel that you're better than you are. No, push yourself to be more honest. Push yourself to be kinder. Push for justice. Push for grace. Let's pray. The band want to come back. God, I thank you for the proverbs that bring peace. Help us breathe more this week. To exhale. To stop. Help us to say no to stuff that is just dross. We thank you that the cross allows us to bring our past and stuff that we feel has messed us up, and we can breathe it out and know it's done. But I pray we would take the initiative to cut out all the other stuff the stuff that might be good but isn't the best. Father, help us speak clearly and simply and honestly. Help us have good communication with our spouse or our partners or our family members or our friends. Conversation that builds up, doesn't build barriers. And God, we thank you for the potential to earn that you have given us. We thank you for work. We thank you for the feeling of a hard day's work where we come to the end of it and we say, we've done some good work today. We thank you that that is a God-given gift to be able to earn money. But I pray we would always hold it lightly. Help us to earn. Help us to save. Help us to give. Help us to live simply.